I'd do another video about Uncanny X-Men, about Jack Danger, about Stern's Renaissance, if you want. Because I'm genuinely excited about this title, and I think possibly more excited about this title than I can think for some time. Maybe Pulp Fiction. Maybe Pulp Fiction was the last time I was this excited. But for different reasons. Pulp Fiction is a theme that absolutely resonated with me. Completely resonated. One of my favourite films. I love Tarantino films, apart from Kill Bill Volume 1. I love Tarantino. In fact, I don't like Kill Bill Volume 2. Apart from Kill Bill, I love Quentin Tarantino films. Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece. I think there was a bravery in the layout. I think that Mark Ritchie did for Chicago Gaming Company. There's a bravery for them to take Tarantino's advice and say, no, let's do an older retro game. I think it worked, clearly. Look, we're all still waiting for our games. I know it's hard. Look, it's been a long, long time. I'm not sure if it's been a couple of years, but it seems to have been a long, long time of waiting for the games. I'm one of the lucky few that have actually had one in the UK, that have had one in my house. So at least I've been blessed to have one for 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, my point being, it's the last time I was genuinely excited. I'm excited about the Uncanny X-Men for very different reasons. You might have noticed I stalled there. And I stalled there because I had to think about the name. I don't think about the name because I don't care about the theme, which makes it even more amazing. I'm excited about a game with a theme that I don't care about. And I think that's just purely because of the shots and the layout. It's different. It's completely different. A long time ago, I did a video about playfield layouts. Does a playfield layout mean you have the same game? Does the fact that Stranger Things, Attack from Mars, Medieval Madness, the fact that they have the same layout, does that exclude you from having one of the other games? Is there any point in having all three? That was the question. The same could be said of many games, many games. The Steve Ritchie 3 flipper games. Is there any point of having Star Trek and Spider-Man, or even Elton John, if you want? Is there any point in that? That's a debate for another day and a video we've already done. But I think if you have a collection of, let's say you have a collection of 5 games, you probably wouldn't have a Star Trek and a Spider-Man, would you? You probably wouldn't. I think this playfield layout is so different, and I've read the comments. I've read the comments of people pointing to, I think it was Goldwing and different older games, which are just not familiar to me. But I think by and large, this layout on Uncanny X-Men, I'm struggling to say the name, is so good and so different you'd have to have it in your collection. You'd have nothing else like it. And I think that in itself is superb. Like all of you guys, like if you're watching this now, you're a pinball nut. You love pinball. You've clicked on YouTube. Oh, someone's uploaded another video about X-Men. You probably live and breathe pinball. And if you're like me, which I think you are, then you've probably watched the trailer for the game 3 or 4 times. You've probably watched the more extended version, the 5-minute version with Gomez and Jack Danger. You've probably watched that a couple of times. I would imagine you've paused. Have you done that? Have you paused the YouTube video and started to look at shots? Maybe you've zoomed in and tried to work out what's going on with the different shots. Of course you have. You've been on, if you've been in the UK, you've been on Pinball Info on the forum. If you're in the States, you've been on Pinside. Oh, you've probably been on both. And you've had a look and you've listened to what everybody else has got to say and really tried to gather as much information as you can because you're excited about the game. And I think that's a brilliant thing, a really, really brilliant thing. But I think as time goes on, you start to ask different questions. But there's a few things that have been sticking in my mind, really, about this. Now, it's not difficult doing YouTube videos, but sometimes it's difficult and you mind your words because you don't want to upset anybody, but it's very hard not to, right? Even if you're not intending to. So when Venom was announced, not when it was released, when Venom was announced, I said, I'm not sure this will be a big theme. I'm not sure it'll be a big hit. There was some backlash. Some people pushed back on that, and people were saying, Venom's huge. What are you talking about? And I was suggesting it was still niche. Because for me, it was. And maybe not within the pinball hobby. Maybe there's lots of people that are into pinball that watch Venom, or know Venom, or read the Venom comics. But if you walk down the street, if you go down to the shopping centre, or if you go into a restaurant, most people in there don't know what Venom is. For me, it was niche. Stranger Things is not niche. Most people globally know what Stranger Things is. Everybody knows what Star Wars is. Are you with me here? There are certain themes which are just huge. You probably Back to the Future. When Back to the Future is done, it's a huge theme. Okay, it might be a bit dated, but I think even I've got a 10-year-old daughter and I've got 3 other teenage kids. Back to the Future is not of their era, but they've all watched it and they all know it. Some themes are huge. That's why, sometimes Pokemon has been sometimes suggested as a pinball machine which might be produced. Pokemon's huge. Pokemon, everybody knows about it. Venom wasn't. Venom is known by people that like comic books. Venom is particularly, I would imagine, is completely male dominated. You get what I mean. You get what I'm saying. Some themes supersede it, and it got me thinking that X-Men again is something, particularly this comic version of it, is a niche theme. And I listened to Jack Danger, and Jack Danger said, I loved comic books growing up, and my comic book of choice was the X-Men. Well, I would suggest that not a huge percentage of the world did have comic books growing up and enjoy comic books growing up. So I think it's quite niche. And it led me to wonder, really, when is Jack Danger going to get a blockbuster theme? Jaws is a blockbuster theme. Alien is a blockbuster theme. Terminator is a blockbuster theme. I'm not talking about dream themes here necessarily, because you might be niche. You might like that band that nobody else knows. Foo Fighters are a big band. But does everybody you know like Foo Fighters know Foo Fighters? No, not everybody. Guns N' Roses was, you would suggest, was a massive and a huge thing. Pirates of the Caribbean. There are big themes. And it just led me to wonder when Jack Danger might get that. Yes, Jurassic Park is a big theme, but we all know the difference. That was his trial, wasn't it? That was his probationary period, if you want. Can you make this work on a low budget with a home edition pinball machine? And in Foo Fighters was his first big boy pinball machine. And now he's obviously produced this Uncanny X-Men, and it looks incredible. Now here's where I find it really interesting, because I think you've got a hold my beer moment. Is that, I don't know if is that just an English term, or does that work, everybody? You know the thing? Hold my beer. And I think it might be a hold my beer moment for Keith Elwin. Because if you've played Foo Fighters, and I'm sure you have, it's got some crazy old ball paths. When I had Foo Fighters here, people would sometimes, I get pinball people come over, and then I have, regular family friends who don't necessarily play pinball, but they'll switch it on and they'll have a game. And I remember the reaction of playing Foo Fighters is, Foo Fighters, the ball was travelling everywhere. But there was one person in particular who said, the ball's travelling everywhere, but I don't feel I'm doing it. So the ball would do a figure of 8, and it would wrap round, and it would do a jump, or it'd hit the kicker and it would jump up. So the ball was doing all this stuff, but they didn't feel they were hitting the ball necessarily. They didn't feel it was a result of their skill with the flipper, which they were right, because they didn't have any skill with the flipper. But the trajectory of the ball and the ball paths were amazing. Obviously, none of us, unless you're a Stern employee, have played Uncanny X-Men yet, but I suspect it's gone up a level in terms of the crazy ball paths. I think he's probably bettered himself. Now, here's the interesting thing here, because before Foo Fighters had been produced, that was Keith Elwin's USP, wasn't it? The crazy ball paths. I remember playing Godzilla for the first time and absolutely marvelling at how it sort of worked its way down the upper loop off the top flipper. So you could hit that, the magnet would drop it, and you could hit the ball round the upper loop. It would fall back to the flipper, and then if you hit it slightly lower, it would go on a lower loop around the back of Mechagodzilla and end up on your flipper, on the lower flipper, not the upper flipper, the lower flippers. I think, wow, that's crazy. I was doing loops up the top, and now it's not that the ball has fallen down the playfield. With my shots, I've made it weave its way down the playfield. Incredible, brilliant. I think Danger has taken this to another level now. And this is why competition is good, because I do wonder if we've got a hold my beer moment for Keith Elwin. The one thing that would make me wonder about that is I have in the back of my mind an interview that Keith Elwin did where I think, and my memory might be playing tricks on me, I think he might have said my next 3 games are done. I might be mixing that up with my interview with Jersey Jack, where he said I know what my next 3 titles are. But I think I heard it. I think I remember Elwin being asked if his next game was finished, or he knew what his next game was, and he indicated that actually I know what my next 3 are. Might not have meant theme. He might have meant playfield layout. So I don't know if Elwin can go back and change what he's already done. But I was thinking, and this is why competition is good. I'm not suggesting there's any angst or any bitterness between Jack Danger and Keith Elwin. I think they probably get on very well. But you're dealing with, it's a healthy rivalry, I think, there. And maybe even going back to the days where, you had Bally Williams, and I remember one pinball designer saying, back in the day, your rival wasn't a different company, he was down the corridor in terms of pinball design. It might have been a Steve Ritchie quote, but possibly not. But you understand, you had Steve Ritchie would have been battling it out with Pat Lawler or maybe Gomez or anyone else to see who could get the next biggest hit in pinball terms. And I do wonder if Elwin's now looking at what Jack Danger did and thinking, right, okay, I need to move on. That's why competition's good. You need to up your game. I think both in the personal terms, in terms of maybe, Elwin, in terms of designers, but also companies that do it. I've no doubt in my mind that had Jersey Jack not brought out Wizard of Oz, Stern would have carried on for a while producing DMD games. That probably forced them into Spike 2. And that in turn forces everybody else to up their game. And I think, Stern have, I'd say I accuse them of being a little bit lazy in recent years. Not in all their games, far from it. But I think quite possibly the competition in terms of, maybe Jersey Jack producing Elton John. I think Spooky producing the games they are. I think probably the knowledge that Dutch are going to bring out something quite spectacular. CGC, so slightly different, but I think there's so much competition there now that maybe Stern have thought, right, okay, we probably need to up the game. We probably don't have enough credit in the bank, not money, consumer confidence, reputational confidence, to produce another completely stripped out game. So competition's good. They drive each other. Everybody is driving each other to strive to be better. So we get better pinball machines. And I think you might have that with, quite possibly in-house with Jack Danger and with Elwin. But it's an old story, a really old story. I'm going back in years here, so excuse me if I'm telling you something you already know. But so Live Aid, back in the day, years and years ago, Live Aid, which was obviously a concert, a wonderful concert. If you've seen, they depicted it really well in the Bohemian Rhapsody film that was in relatively recent years. Live Aid was a global concert, and the one in the UK was put together to raise charity to feed starving kids in Ethiopia, and lots and lots of artists all came together, and it was a wonderful concert. But there was also a song, "Feed the World, Do They Know It's Christmas Time?" You've got to know that song, right? So everybody who was famous in the day, in the 80s, got together and they wrote a song. And everybody sang a line of this song. So they'd come in and someone, "It's Christmas time, there's no need to be afraid." And then someone else would sing the next line. I think there was a US version. I can't for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. But everyone would sing a line. Anyway, everybody comes into the studio and sings their bit. So Bono of U2 came into the studio. He sang his bit, sang his line. "Tonight, thank God it's them instead of you." That was his line. Got back in his limousine, drove off. Apparently got, at some point, there wouldn't have been mobile phones at that time, but the story goes that Bono heard that the person that sang the next line after him had done a really good job. I can't remember. The memory is vague. So Bono hears, whatever, George Michael's sang a really great line. Bono had a hold my beer moment. Bono got back in the limousine, travelled back to the studio and demanded to re-record his line. And this time he really sang it. He really screamed it. Because he was pushed on by the competition. And I do wonder if we're going to have a sort of Bono moment, maybe from Keith Elwin. But it is a bit like these two superstars, isn't it? There, and I wonder what it's going to make other people do, because the standard is so high. And I'm not entirely sure who remains on the Stern payroll. But these guys are operating at such a high level that I do wonder what are the other guys going to do? They can't. It's almost impossible for them to produce another similar layout to what they've done before. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens there. I've just been really fascinated by looking at the games themselves, as well, at the game itself as well. So I'll tell you where I am with it at the moment. So I'm in a really wonderful position, really good problem to have, which is something. I think for me to get that, something's got to go, and I don't know what it would be. So at the moment in my collection, I'll just run through what it is. Dolly Parton, which you probably, because the lights possibly can't see it behind you. You've got Dolly Parton there. I've got 8-Ball Deluxe, which is with Ant at the moment. I've got Big Lebowski, which is out on loan. In the house there, I have Whitewater, Attack from Mars, Deadpool, and Lord of the Rings. And I've got a Pulp Fiction and a Jaws on order. That's 9. That's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. I need help, is what I need. It's a disease, honestly. So that's what I've got. Or all things being equal, when everything's done and everything's whatever repaired and paid for, so on and so forth. Those are my games that I have here. And I think for me to go and get an Uncanny X-Men, one of those games would have to go. And honestly, The thing is, it's taken me a long time to do it. So I actually, what I do more or less have are my favourite games. They're here. The ones that I didn't get on with so much have gone. Some of them I've had back twice. You know, to the extent that Whitewater, Lord of the Rings, Attack from Mars, Deadpool, they will never go. You know, unless something, you know, terrible happens, or you know, go bankrupt or something like that, and I have to sell them. Then obviously they'd have to go. But they won't go, not for Pinball Turns. They won't be sold for anything else. I'm not going to get rid of 8 Ball Deluxe because Ant will have done such a good job on it. It's odd. I can't really say with Pulp Fiction or Jaws because I don't have them yet. But I'm certainly not going to get them in and then get rid of them straight away. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. And you've got Lebowski, which is sort of like the best pinball machine ever made. And I'm not going to get rid of Dolly. Dolly's brilliant. So anyway, I'm going to play it. I think the thing is, I have to play this game. And in many respects, I'm sort of glad that Uncanny X-Men isn't a theme that I'm desperate. It's not Jaws. There's a few people asking, saying, why wasn't this Jaws? Basically, why wasn't the layout that we've got with Uncanny X-Men Jaws? And I think that's for reasons I said at the start. I don't think yet Jack Danger's getting the superstar themes. The global themes that are recognised by everybody. Show someone a poster of show most people in the world a poster of Uncanny X-Men. They'll say, sort of, what's that? Show most people in the world a photo of Jaws. They say, oh, Jaws. I don't think it's that. But Jaws is a title that I couldn't resist. It's just one of the best movies that's ever been made. So that's good. At least that's stopping me. But the shots are just looking magnificent. I want to hit that shot, that upper left shot that goes round everywhere. I want to hit the shot that loops round behind the flippers to the danger room. I want to play that. I want to hit the shot behind the Sentinel. I want to... It just makes me want to play it. I'm impatient to play this game, which is why I'm doing another video on it. I've got another video coming up, which I'll be doing with Enzo. We'll be talking about it again, because he's spotted certain things in the game. And a big shout out to Don's Pinball Podcast, by the way. Got to say that Enzo was on it the other day, and I listened to it when I was driving yesterday, which was great. 2 reservations, only 2 reservations about this game, which would stop me from immediately. Well, I can't afford it anyway, but stop me from putting something up for sale. Firstly, I don't know how tough the shots are. I'm not a great player. Even if I wanted to, even if I really liked the theme of John Wick, I couldn't play it anyway. It's too tough. I can't make the shots. Because I can't make the shots, the game... I'd love to know a percentage, actually. I'd love somebody to give me the data of how much time of me playing John Wick the ball spent in the slings. Bang, 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 bang. A lot. That's not fun. It's just not fun. Remember me saying before, I played Jaws, all the shots are where they're meant to be on Jaws. All the shots are makeable. I'm hitting shots, I'm getting flow. It's, you know, for me, John Wick is a bricky mess. For me. And if you're better than me, you're hitting the shots, you can have a good time. For me, I'm not having a good time. So I need to make sure, I need to play this game. I need to play Uncanny X-Men and know that I can make the shots. Firstly. Secondly, and my only second concern is the code. Because I'm easily confused. Very easily confused. I do like a simple game with a simple rule set. I really do. I think Deadpool's about as complicated as I'm willing for it to get. 3 bad guys, 2 quests, and 1 supervillain. That will do. Honestly, that will do. You can boost it with some team ups. That's fine. I understand Lord of the Rings is complicated with the rules. There is a big difference, though. Well, as you can probably see, you know, from all my stuff here, I am Lord. I'm so bad. I've read the history of Middle Earth. twice. And that's not even, that you've got to be a real geek to read that stuff. So that can have a complicated rule set. I know what everything means. I know, and it's really Avengers Infinity Quest that's troubling me, because that had... I think that might have had the best shots of any game I've played so far. Incredible shots, incredible flow, just wonderful, But it was confusing. There were too many. I would have just preferred it if that game had been Thor, or just Captain America, or just Hulk. You had so many of them. And then you had the crystals, the gemstones, I know you're screaming now, telling me what they are. You're screaming at your phone. They're whatever they are. But you would take the stones off the glove. Thanos' glove, that's it. Thanos' marigold glove. And you would take the gemstone and place the gemstone near the character. And then that would boost some of the character stuff, and you could take that and remove it and take it on another character. And there were loads of characters. And it was crazy confusing. It was a bit like, funny enough, I've got this guy here. Let me show you this guy. You know this guy? This guy's Penguin, all right? So it'd be a bit like in Batman, that you'd collect the Penguin, but then you would take the Penguin's umbrella and then you'd give it to the Joker, which would then give the Joker some abilities to... Not for me. Honestly, not for me. And I think what doesn't help is I don't really know all the characters. And when I was watching the trailer for the Uncanny X-Men, it was revealing all the characters. I know who Wolverine is. That was a good film, by the way. Logan, you seen Logan? That's a great film. Great film. I don't think you need to know anything about superheroes. I think that works as a standalone film. I know a few of the characters, but there was just so many of them. I do. I know more characters in X-Men, I think, than I did in the Avengers Infinity Quest and the Black Order and stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the Doctor. Doctor Strange? Is that he's not? That's what I mean. Doctor Strange. I think it might be Benedict Cumberbatch. That's his name. It was confusing. There was too many. And then I remember when I first played Venom, and I saw these 4 or 5 characters. I thought, wow, they all just look like Spider. It's basically Spider-Man with a long tongue. Spider-Man in a black costume. I don't know. They just all looked like Spider-Man to me. So the rules weren't clear, and I need the rules to be clear. So I need to know 2 things from Uncanny X-Men. Am I going to make the shots? Is it going to be clear what I'm doing? So we don't know. We don't know. But the excitement is really clear, and I can't help. You've got to play these games, though. You have to play them. You absolutely have to. And I want to play as many games as possible before deciding if I'm going to do anything else. Before I might not want to mix my collection around at all. I'm pretty damn happy with it. But, look, we're lucky here. We're lucky. Very, very lucky, because a channel sponsor, Pinball Heaven, when games get released, Pinball Heaven send the games down, and we get to test them and we get to play them. So I'll give you my honest opinion. I promise you I will. And I will not be swayed in the same way that I said I thought Venom Pro here, I said it's rubbish. And then I play Jaws and I say it's brilliant. I'll hopefully do as honest as opinion as I can. And I'm excited about it. I am excited about it. And when I get it, then, if you're local and you're around these parts, you're welcome to come and play it here. Absolutely. But I think of the new releases, I'm gonna want to get my hands and play Uncanny X-Men. I'm going to want to play Avatar, get my hands on that one day. And hopefully, whatever Spooky do next and other things. Exciting times. Really, really exciting times. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling now. Half an hour. Imagine if I had a guest, it would have been a 1.5 hour podcast. Anyway, we will be doing one soon. And what I'll do next, there's been a lot of talking videos. So let's get you some pinball action next. I'll show you either White Water. I'll try and get it uploaded this week. this coming week. I'll either do Whitewater or I'll show you my Attack from Mars limited edition and my really nice Whitewater. Really excited about those. Really, really excited. I'll leave you with a phrase that I never thought I would ever utter in my life. You have to sort of be into pinball to know what I'm about to say, otherwise you're just going to think I'm disgusting. But late last night, just before I went to bed, I switched on Whitewater, and for the first time ever, I got to wet willies.